Welcome to On the Firing Line on the information station, AM 1440 KUHL. Information, education, news, and politics of firearms and ammunition is found here. If you have any questions, call us at 1-888-625-1440. That's 1-888-625-1440.
Two children were outside on a public street in San Bernardino, California, when a pit bull attacked them. As the children tried to escape from the dog, the children's aunt picked up a toy scooter and attempted to use it to fight off the dog. A neighbor noticed the attack, retrieved a gun, and shot and killed the dog. Following the incident, the aunt explained to a reporter that she was fearful for the children's lives and said that the armed citizen is a hero. One of the children was taken to a local hospital for her injuries, but is now fine. This from NBC, Los Angeles, California, October 7th, 2013.
You are on the firing line with Matt, Jim, and Joe today. Be a part of today's show by giving us a call at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, give us a call at 928-1440.
All right, we have an interesting show lined up today. Of course, those of you who already know, Governor Brown has vetoed most of the gun package.
Yay.
And we're going to be talking about some of those things. We also have the letters that he's written in response to the politicians who tried to pass them through. So it's going to be an interesting day today to kind of get through all this. But this is good information for all of us to get out there and get through. And it's important that we keep this in mind. This is not the win of the war. Right. It is only a win of the battle.
Yep, exactly.
So it's going to be an interesting show, I think. And we'd like to hear your comments out there. So please, if you have any comments today on this, give us a call at 888-625-1440. Or as Matt said earlier, if you're in the Santa Maria area, give us a call at 928-1440. And don't forget, those of you who have family and friends outside of this area, get your friends on there. Get your family on the internet. Listen to us at am1440.com. They can also go on to our webpage, On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. It's actually a Facebook page.
Yep.
Have a listen to the show. You can look at the outline. I've posted it up. It's important that we talk about that, today's subject. It's going to be strictly on the bills that Governor Brown has vetoed or passed. That's what today's show is all about.
And all this affects all of us, you guys. So I know you guys got something to say, so call us because I know it affects you because it affects all of us. So, you know, anybody in California, that's for sure.
We need. I'd like to hear your opinion out there. I'd like to know if you think that Governor Brown is more of a conservative Democrat.
Is he really the constitutionalist?
Or is he somebody who's just using common sense, or is he biding time?
Was he swayed?
Yes, was he swayed? That's another great question, because he's had a lot of pressure on him over the time. But let's get back to this first Second Amendment encounter. It's been a long time since I've read one that's actually happened here in California, I think.
Yep.
And this is an interesting one because it actually happened outside of the home rather than inside of the home.
Yeah, and it's something that's so easily could happen at the blink of an eye. I mean, I guess any negative thing could, but there's millions of times where we're out with our kids and stuff, and we walk right past dogs and don't even think about this. It's a shame that a pit bull. I know they already kind of have the stigma. I don't really like that, but in this case, obviously the animal was in the wrong. but if the guy didn't have the gun, it's really hard to pull a pit bull apart. Hitting it with a little scooter isn't really going to do the trick.
Once they've got their mindset, they tend to stick through. They're pretty loyal to their own objectives.
Absolutely, yeah. So it was really good that this citizen was able to come out and he probably saved the life of this child.
Most of you are probably wondering why this person that shot the dog is not in jail. He discharged a firearm within the city limits.
Yep.
Or at least we assume it's within the city. It's within the San Bernardino.
It was in the county.
Yeah, so
outdoors.
And we're also looking at the fact that loaded firearm in the city limits, discharged firearm within the city limits, and he did it outside of the home.
Yep. So.
Well, I went to the California Law Book and actually wrote down in the outline today what it says in there. And while it doesn't clarify whether or not you can use a gun outside of your home, I know that there are exceptions for using your gun in emergency outside of the home.
Right.
But this kind of sums up something here. And while this is directed more towards if a person is trying to cause injury to you, I think that dogs fit into this.
Yeah.
And so I thought if I read this, maybe you guys get a little bit more understanding of it. It's self-defense against assault. And obviously the dog was assaulting these children, actually committing
Battery on these kids. Yeah, that's true.
So it says, it is lawful for a person being assaulted to defend himself or herself from an attack if he or she has reasonable grounds for believing and does in fact believe that he or she will suffer bodily injury, which is what these children were having happen to them. In doing so, he or she may use such force, up to deadly force, as a reasonable person in the same or similar circumstance would believe necessary to prevent great bodily injury or death. An assault with fists does not justify use of deadly weapon in self-defense unless the person being assaulted believes, and a reasonable person in the same or similar circumstances would also believe, that the assault is likely to inflict great bodily injury. It is lawful for a person who has grounds for believing and does in fact believe that great bodily injury is about to be inflicted on another to protect that victim from attack. In so doing, the person may use such force as reasonably necessary to prevent the injury. Deadly force is only considered reasonable to prevent great bodily injury or death. And keep in mind, the use of excessive force to counter an assault may result in civil or criminal penalties.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that, you know, a lot of the times, even if you did everything in the right, you're still going to have to go to court and, you know, plead your case. You know, looks like that didn't happen in this case, but that's a very realistic thing that can happen.
Right.
And real quickly, too.
Another reason why I wanted to read that is because we've had a few people come into the shop recently that just didn't quite get when they could use their gun to protect themselves, when they could actually use a gun at all.
Yep.
I still see people saying, you know, marking in the little handgun safety course box that you can shoot somebody for trespassing or disturbing the peace. That is not the case.
Yeah, exactly.
Not in California.
So, because usually if somebody marks that box, I'll say something like, well, if somebody's in your front yard and they're just yelling into the air, does that give you the rights to shoot them? Because what you just checked says it does. But obviously that's not the case.
No.
At all. So, but that does bring up a good point, Joe. And, you know, but another point that you keep saying you have to believe in that another person would believe you're in great bodily harm. Are you really going to have time to think about what a sane person is going to think and believe as something's happening?
Well, you'd better hope that you have a pretty good idea of what other people think.
Right.
And it's just kind of having an identity with the people that are around you. Would they do the same thing that you would do in that circumstance?
Yep.
That's what gives you a little bit of justification. And I say a little bit because it's not always going to back you up.
Right. And I also think that's kind of where training, or not necessarily training with a firearm, but just training your mind, that kind of comes into play on that one.
Absolutely. That's mindset and what you're thinking about when you're practicing, how you're going to handle a situation and stuff like that.
Because, if you've thought about it before and you're not thinking about it for the very first time right now, you're going to be able to, calm down and act probably a little bit wiser, I would think.
Yep. It's a good idea to get out there and read as many books as you can, read as much information out there, read the California law books, and be informed before you put yourself into a situation you cannot handle or cannot get out of. That's very important.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to jump right into this whole big thing about Jerry Brown vetoing many of the gun bills and signing actually a few of them as well. We're going to go over each one of what the bill number is, or Senate bill, and we're going to talk about what the law was supposed to enact, and we're also going to talk about and read the letters that Jerry Brown actually sent back to the state assembly members as to why he didn't sign them. So we'll be right back with you on the firing line. With Matt.
You're listening to On the Firing Line on the Information Station.
This is On the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. We will be right back with you on the firing line. If you have any questions, give us a call at 888-625-1440 or in the Santa Maria area, 928-1440. Don't forget, you can always listen in on AM1440.com.
Tactical Guns and Gear is the Central Coast leader in tactical rifles, pistols, shotguns, and accessories. Building the AR-15, lower receivers, parts kits, trigger groups, and a ton of other AR parts from the most popular companies are in stock, as well as a large selection of handguns, tactical shotguns, and bolt-action precision rifles.
They are also the home of the Women's 101 Firearms and Women's Advanced Pistol classes.
Located just off the 101 freeway in Santa Maria near the North Broadway exit, look for the big rifle sign on the freeway, as well as the giant 5-ton Tactical military truck. Support your Second Amendment rights and visit Tactical Guns and Gear today.
On the Firing Line is happy to have Law Offices of Christopher Coleman as a sponsor. The Law Offices of Christopher Coleman is located in Santa Barbara on 2019B State Street, specializing in personal injury and, more importantly, the Second Amendment and On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. Give them a call at 805-682-3352, serving the Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, and San Luis Obispo areas for over 25 years.
Now, a great word from Santa Maria Motorcycles, formerly Santa Maria Harley-Davidson, located at 2022 Prester Lane. They are dealers for Honda, Kawasaki, and Harley-Davidson. Grab your family and go see the museum, filled with exciting older bikes that you won't see anywhere else on the Central Coast. As well, they are the #1 motorcycle dealer on the Central Coast with the largest inventory around. Go in and see Martin Buchanan, or you can give him a call at 805-928-3668. You can also go visit them every first Thursday of the month for Bike Night. Starts at 6 p.m. Have a great time with your family at Santa Maria Motorcycles.
You are on the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, please give us a call at 928-1440. That's right, you're back on the Firing Line. We're going to get into some of the new stuff that Governor Brown did, I believe it was yesterday, and talk about if it was good, bad, or indifferent.
Okay, well, yesterday was a small victory in this golden state of California. This in part to the outpouring of calls, faxes, emails, and letters sent to Governor Brown. We should be thankful that he had at least the ability to see that most of these laws would be overturned in court or just plain infringement on our Second Amendment. Perhaps it will be a strong message to the Democrats running the state that they can't just run amok. Or, who are we kidding? We know this won't stop them from their touchy-feely laws that they want to push on their subjects.
Yeah, too true. Yeah.
All right. I mean,
well, no, and that's, it's true because like we've talked about before, these guys have an agenda and that's what they're out to do is, make that agenda happen.
Well, and a lot of it's based off of what they feel instead of the actual need for the rule of law.
Oh, yeah. Feelings.
They need to go out and feel out a hurt feeling report.
Well, let's talk about some of these rejected, vetoed things.
All right, let's kind of get into this. Governor's actions yesterday include the following, and these are the vetoed ones, okay? AB 180 by Assembly Member Rob Bonta. He's a Democrat out of Alameda, and it's regarding registration and licensing of firearms in the city of Oakland. This law would have imposed a tax on ammo sold throughout the state to help pay for crime fighting in high crime areas.
That's ridiculous.
Absolutely, it's ridiculous.
Why would gun owners have to pay for crimes? I mean, that makes no sense whatsoever.
And especially if it's not happening in our area.
Well, yeah, especially if it's not even in our area. But in general, what do we have to do with it?
All right, well, this is what Jerry Brown had to say, okay, or Edmund Brown. He says, I'm returning Assembly Bill 180 without my signature. The state of California has among the strictest gun laws in the country, allowing individual cities to enact their own more restrictive firearm regulations and will sow confusion and uncertainty. I am mindful of the challenges that the city of Oakland faces in addressing gun violence, but this is not the right solution.
Oh.
I think that's pretty well spoken, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I was pretty impressed that that's what he had to say about that, and I'm glad that he was able to see past the rhetoric and the persuasion that I'm sure he was getting from his fellow constituents.
Yeah. Whoever wrote that up for him made it sound real nice.
All right. We also have AB 169, which was also struck down. This was written by Assembly Member Roger Dickinson, a Democrat out of Sacramento, and it was regarding unsafe handguns. This law would have kept us from being able to transfer our firearms already owned that have fallen off the list of approved guns for sale here in California, and from being private party transferred unless out of state. We would have had to sell them or get rid of them out of state. Otherwise, we'd have had to keep them that have been grandfathered to us, and that would have been the end of that.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been able to pass them down. Guns die with you, basically, had that gone through.
Now, again, Jerry Brown says this: I am returning Assembly Bill 169 without my signature. Current law restricts the sale of so-called off-roster handguns with several exemptions. Exemptions include sales between private parties and sales of single-shot handguns. Current law also prohibits the sale of more than 5 handguns per year, whether off-roster or not, except by a licensed firearm dealer. AB 169 would close a loophole in the single-shot exemption. That makes sense. The bill would also restrict private party off-roster sales of 2 per year. I do not support restricting sales in this way without evidence that such restrictions would improve public safety. I will work with the Bureau of Firearms and the Department of Justice to ensure better tracking and enforcement to prevent individuals from violating the existing 5 per year limit. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
How many people actually realize if you're going to sell your private-owned guns or sell guns that you have or private party transfer, you can only do 5 transactions in a year. If you do more than that, you're in violation.
So basically, if you do more than that, you need to have some sort of FFL because you're kind of like a dealer, a gun dealer.
Yeah, a dealer or a collector. So, and you know what? I know that there are a lot of people out there that do a lot of private party transfers within the year and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, watch out. They're going to be looking for you pretty soon.
Yeah, that's scary stuff, I mean, and that's, private party transfers among collectors, that's a real regular thing. That's just,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's 100% on the level. It's legal, So, yeah, like you said, those guys got to watch out.
I think I've personally sold about 5 guns this year, and that was to help get some of my down payment for a home that I'm waiting for.
Patiently.
Yes. All right, we also have SB 299 by Senator Mark DeSaulnier, Democrat out of Concord. This is regarding firearms, lost or stolen reports. This law would have required reporting a lost or stolen firearm to local law enforcement within 7 days from the owner, when the owner knew or reasonably should have known the firearm was stolen or lost. This is the letter that Jerry Brown actually wrote back on that one, and it states, I am returning Senate Bill 299 without my signature. Last year, I vetoed a nearly identical bill, SB 1366, noting that I was not convinced that criminalizing the failure to report a lost or stolen firearm would improve identifications of gun traffickers or help law enforcement disarm people prohibited from possessing guns. I continue to believe that responsible people report the loss of theft of a firearm and irresponsible people do not. I remain skeptical that this bill would change those behaviors.
It makes a good point.
He makes a good point.
Kind of. I mean, I don't know.
Personally, I don't think that it would have been a big deal for him to pass this
exactly.
one.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. That one could have passed, but it seems like, okay, maybe I'll veto this to kind of make the people feel a little better, like I vetoed an extra one or something. But let's be honest. I mean, if one of our weapons gets stolen, we're going to report it stolen anyway.
Makes sense, too. I wouldn't want to have it be used in a murder and me not have reported it, and they come looking to me to ask questions.
Yeah. And
so how did little Jimmy get that gun?
And it's, it's a firearm. It's not just a TV. People report TVs stolen all the time. This is something that, if they stole it, they're probably not a good person, so they're probably not going to use it to do good, great things. So
and I don't see how this law or that law would have had anything to do with gun control, to be honest with you.
That's kind of my point. Thank you. Yes.
So, if they wanted common sense laws, there it was.
Right? Yeah.
And I repeat, there it was. Okay, this is the one that everybody's going to be very thankful of. SB 374 by Senator Darrell Steinberg, a Democrat out of Sacramento. It is the assault weapons ban. This ban was vetoed. This law would have banned many iconic ranch and hunting rifles that, under the current description of an assault weapon law, were okay to own. This law would have changed the description of an assault weapon to include any semi-automatic center fire weapon that accepted a detachable magazine to be an assault weapon. That I am
Yeah.
so glad
Totally
was turned down.
Yep, because that one was a huge one. I mean, that's
is.
the one that I'm the most happy that was turned down. Absolutely.
Here's what Jerry Brown had to say about it. I'm returning Senate Bill 374 without my signature. The state of California already has some of the strictest gun laws in the country, including bans on military-style assault rifles and high-capacity ammunition magazines. While the author's intent is to strengthen these restrictions, this bill goes much further by banning any semi-automatic rifle with a detachable magazine. This ban covers low-capacity rifles that are commonly used for hunting, firearms training, and marksmanship practice, as well as some historical and collectible firearms. Moreover, hundreds of thousands of current gun owners would have had to register their rifles as assault weapons and would be banned from selling or transferring them in the future. Today, I signed a number of bills that strengthen California's gun laws, including AB 48, which closes a loophole in the existing ban on dangerous high-capacity magazines. I also signed AB 1131 and SB 127, which restrict the ability of mentally unstable people to purchase or possess guns. I don't believe that this bill's blanket ban on semi-automatic rifles would reduce criminal activity or enhance public safety enough to warrant this infringement on gun owners' rights.
Wow.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well put.
Absolutely. That's actually.
Is he really a Democrat?
All right, don't get ahead of yourself
I mean,
now.
maybe he's today's Republican.
Whoa.
No, we've heard some of the bills that have gone through.
Yeah.
Jim can attest to that, even with the bathroom bill that we've talked about the last
God.
couple of weeks. But we'll try not to talk any more about that during the show, because that's
Please.
for another show.
Please and thank you.
All right, we do have SB 475, written by Senator Mark Leno, a Democrat out of San Francisco, Agricultural District 1, and this was firearm sales at the Cow Palace. This one's like a broken record to me. Every few years, this Cow Palace gets thrown right up in our face. The last time is you can't advertise outside of the Cow Palace that there's going to be a gun show. And then they were trying to get rid of the gun shows altogether. Well, it's back. And again, it is vetoed. All right, this law would have banned gun shows at the Cow Palace. And again, I say it sounds like a broken record.
Yep.
Wow. And let's see what it says here. He says, I'm returning Senate Bill 475 without my signature. This bill requires the District Agriculture Association 1-A, the Cow Palace, to obtain approval from the County of San Mateo and the City and County of San Francisco prior to entering into a contract for a gun show or state property. I encourage all district agriculture associates to work with their local communities when determining their operations and events. This bill, however, totally preempts the board of directors of the Cow Palace from exercising its contracting authority whenever a gun show is involved. I prefer to leave these decisions to the sound discretion of the board.
As you should.
This is well put. He's using some common sense here, and I got to say it's got to be huge thanks to the people that have pressured him, the vigils that have gone up there and and walked the grounds.
Yep.
The NRA threatening to sue with cow guns and a number of other associations.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think it was any one particular thing, but all those stacked up made for a pretty large force, Yeah, and
absolutely.
So that was, obviously the floodgates came open of people saying, hey, this is not right. We don't want this going on. And looks like he kind of, listened to the people, kind of.
Well, either that or he felt the pressure, saw what happened in Colorado. I mean, these are all things that take play in a politician's mind.
Yeah, everything factors in. You're right.
And he's right, though. We don't have the money here in California. Of course, he didn't say that. But we already have some of the strictest laws here in California.
Yes.
We already ban assault weapons, military-style weapons. Of course, I don't like to call them assault weapons because I don't believe they are. And all weapons are based off of military designs in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness, isn't that what the Second Amendment was based upon in the first place? So it's good that he's using these words, and it kind of helps emphasize what we wanted to put out as our thought.
Right.
But who knows what lurks in the shadow?
Right.
All right, we have SB 567 by Senator Hannah Beth Jackson. This is regarding shotguns. This law would have revised the definition of a shotgun to delete the requirement that it be intended to be fired from the shoulder, and would clarify that the projectile may be fired through either a rifle bore or a smooth bore. This one was a really hard one to understand exactly what she was trying to do.
Totally.
Maybe Jerry Brown can clear it up.
Well, let's give him a call.
Wow. Okay, he says, I'm returning Senate Bill 567 without my signature. Current law defines assault weapon to include any shotgun with a revolving cylinder. In modifying the definition of shotgun to include certain rifles with a revolving cylinder that can fire both shotgun and rifle cartridges, this bill bans a small group of specifically rifles with no intended impact on public safety. A little bit more common sense there.
Yeah, it's still kind of cloudy to me what the whole thing actually was.
I think what they're trying to say, though, is that if you have like the Taurus Judge, Taurus Judge, they have the one that has a longer barrel.
Gotcha.
That makes it a legal shotgun in California, but it has a revolving cylinder.
Okay.
It is a rifled barrel, and so it can shoot regular
45 ACP.
45. Well, no, I
Or
think it's long Colt.
Okay.
And 410 rounds, 410 shotgun shells. And so they were trying to make a separation there. And so that's where this all happened.
Okay, see, I guess it was me being ignorant. And when they say shotgun, I'm thinking of a Remington 870 shotgun.
Right.
But, I guess that's true with the Judge and all those, public defender. They have all these funny names for these guns. But they are handheld shotguns, ultimately.
Well, this one has been shot down. Just like the rest of these.
Which is good, because that's ridiculous.
Bills.
Huh?
Okay,
all right,
and I do say ridiculous.
They must be ridiculous.
All right, we have SB 755 by Senator Louis Wolk, Democrat out of Davis, I guess, County. And this is firearms, prohibited persons. This law would have added to the description of prohibited person from owning firearms by adding many new misdemeanor crimes that would have kept even more people from being able to purchase weapons for up to 10 years at a time, therefore barring even more people from owning firearms and violating their Second Amendment rights.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what the governor had to say.
The governor.
Yes, the governor. God, that just kind of fits with Arnie, doesn't it?
It does, I liked it when...
It's been forever changed.
This all the things aside that he did, I liked the Terminator as California's governor. That was cool.
Well, unfortunately, though, he did ban the 50 cal. And that
I'm not saying what he did was cool, but I'm just saying having the Terminator as the governor.
I have a 50 cal. You can't have one. I have one. You can't have one.
I am in jeopardy. My helicopter.
All right, I am returning Senate Bill 755 without my signature. This bill adds substance abuse convictions and court orders to undergo mental health outpatient treatment to criteria that results in a 10-year prohibition on firearm possession. I am not persuaded that it is necessary to prohibit gun ownership on the basis of crimes that are non-felonies, non-violent, and do not involve misuse of a firearm.
Common sense? Wow.
Common sense, absolutely.
That's just insanely...
Or unless he's planning to go to an outpatient and he doesn't want to lose his weapons. Oh,
right.
Wait, that was a time ago, wasn't it?
No, not that long ago.
I don't know. I think Brown had some trouble there for a while. I wonder if he ever... No, not at all.
None.
No cocaine substance abuse, no alcohol substance abuse.
He didn't want to get put up to his own...
Wow. All right. We need to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the bills he did sign in. I think it's important to bring those up as well because some of them are kind of ridiculous and some of them actually make a little bit of sense. Again, on the war. The war is not won nor lost.
Just another battle fought.
Yes. So we'll be right back with you on the firing line with Matt, Jim, and Joe today.
We'll be back to more of On the Firing Line with Joe and Jim after this.
This is On the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. We will be right back with you on the firing line. If you have any questions, give us a call at 888-625-1440 or in the Santa Maria area, 928-1440. Don't forget, you can always listen in on am1440.com.
Tactical Guns and Gear is the Central Coast leader in tactical rifles, pistols, shotguns, and accessories. Building the AR-15, lower receivers, parts kits, trigger groups, and a ton of other AR parts from the most popular companies are in stock, as well as a large selection of handguns, tactical shotguns, and bolt-action precision rifles.
They are also the home of the Women's 101 Firearms and Women's Advanced Pistol classes.
Located just off the 101 freeway in Santa Maria near the North Broadway exit, look for the big rifle sign on the freeway, as well as the giant 5-ton Tactical military truck. Support your Second Amendment rights and visit Tactical Guns and Gear today.
On the Firing Line is happy to have Law Offices of Christopher Coleman as a sponsor. The Law Offices of Christopher Coleman is located in Santa Barbara on 2019B State Street, specializing in personal injury and, more importantly, the Second Amendment and On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. Give them a call at 805-682-3352, serving the Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, and San Luis Obispo areas for over 25 years. You are on the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, please give us a call at 928-1440.
All right, you are back on the Firing Line. We just got done talking about some of the stuff Governor Brown rejected yesterday, and most of it for the better of us, I would think. But there was plenty of stuff that he signed, and so now we're going to get into those. It's important that we know both sides of this fight, and Joe, take it away.
All right. Yes, Governor Brown has vetoed many things. Thank God he vetoed the SB 374.
Yep.
But he also signed into law some new stuff here. For instance, AB 48 by Assemblymember Nancy Skinner, a Democrat out of Berkeley. This was regarding firearms, large capacity magazines. This bill makes it a misdemeanor to make, sell, or import rebuild kits for high capacity magazines. In other words, if you already have high capacity magazines that you've had before the ban, you're legal to have those. Of course, you're not able to use them in something that has a non-detachable aspect to it, like the new bullet button ARs that have been going around. But if you had a high-capacity magazine, it will have to rot away. If it breaks down, you cannot get a rebuild kit to fix it.
Yeah, and what sense does that make? I mean, and I know the loophole that, the whole gun show rebuild kit thing, that's what they're probably trying to stamp out. But like what you just said, I mean, that's where ultimately where I see it. It's just you literally are using those parts to fix your stuff that is 30 years old.
Right.
I mean, it just makes sense that it's a spring. They wear out,
Well, now when that spring wears out, you're just going to have to stretch it.
It's only a misdemeanor.
Well, that's true. It is only a misdemeanor. And, it's up to you as a law-abiding citizen. Do you want to be a lawbreaker or do you want to follow the law? Laws are meant to be broken is what Jim's over here just...
No, I'm just saying that we know...
You lawbreaker.
No, we know this, that there are stupid laws and then there are sensible ones.
Okay.
And as we as human beings know the difference.
Yeah.
And this is not what I would consider a smart law.
No, it's a stupid law.
It's like, do you realize that the speed limit is a limit?
Right. It's not a...
It's not a law. Did you know that?
No.
Only if you're going at a very high rate of speed. In other words, if you're in a 25 mile and you're going 100, now you're reckless driving. You see the difference?
That's a law.
That is a law. Okay, so they give you a ticket because you didn't break the law.
But you
went
broke
over the speed limit.
Yeah.
Do you understand that?
Huh.
But I know people that say, oh, you got to drive 65. No, you don't. You're just risking getting a ticket. You don't break the law it's a limit. Because what if everybody was going 70? Everybody.
Okay.
Is going 70.
The flow of traffic.
That flow of traffic.
Well, you're supposed to go with the flow of traffic.
Exactly. That's what you're supposed to be doing. And so if you're...
So then if everybody goes out and gets rebuild kits, then we might as well do it too because we're going with the flow of the society.
No, I'm just saying, if you say to yourself, what I really want to say. Because already I was going to let you guys do these things and then just,
we have a rebuild party kit at
you mentioned Hannah
Jim's
Beth
house.
Jackson, and we know that she used to be called Taxon Jackson. I'm going to let that go. I'm just going to let it go.
Okay.
But at any rate, some laws you're going to abide by because they're sensible, they're right laws. But other laws you go, what were they thinking?
Well, and this is one of them. You're absolutely right. Again, we're going to have...
anything that Hannah Beth Jackson would
Go with it, run with it.
No, I'm not going to go
Do
with
it.
because I'm trying to get phone calls in, but I won't
But-
say it because she is a legislature and she was duly voted in. But I
She was
don't
also
have
duly
it-
voted out.
She was completely, completely voted out and couldn't get back in. And somebody got her back in.
How?
Who let that door open? I want to know that.
Yes, that'd be
Yeah.
a good question.
She's been kicked out.
And she had to stick her nose in the touchy-feely stuff here after the Sandy
Well,
Hook
she-
shooting.
We
Of
know
course, of
we have done a
course.
show on her before. We know she's a socialist.
Right.
We know she says she is. So
We even, I read that whole article of her explanation of what she was about and stuff. So
exactly, she's a socialist. So
All right.
should we?
follow a socialist?
No.
Heck no.
We're still waiting out there for a call from somebody out there to kind of give us your opinion.
Ring.
Yes,
Yeah,
give us your
no.
opinion on these different things. Should these laws be passed? Should they not be passed?
Well, one of the things I said in the break, Joe, and maybe this will get people going. These are just the gun laws.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not
That's a
talking about
good point.
property rights. We're not talking about all these other laws that probably he had a pile and a half.
Yeah.
His desk was probably filled up with them. This is just the gun laws.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean, how about
and there's-
laws against gasoline or whatever? Microphones. What microphones
Yeah.
can you speak into? What microphones can you manufacture? Do you know how bad the laws are in California?
Cow flatulence.
I have,
Yeah,
I have an
right.
assault microphone.
There's so many cows that There's so many cows that flatulate. We got to make sure that they do it somewhere else.
Yeah, we got to
There is
limit
a
the
law.
amount of cows that we have here
Yeah.
to
There is a
make
law.
sure that we don't break down the ozone. Yes, we must control the amount of rounds that are sold to people for their firearms because I'm sure that the gases that come out of a firearm,
Yep, they're eating away. They're just destroying the world.
Well, they made a law that you know
that
what?
Russian ammo.
If you
Duh.
had a garage,
Duh.
and in the garage, not your home garage, I mean, if you had a business, and in that business, in the 1950s, okay, you painted some cars. You were in a paint shop.
You were okay.
Right.
No, hold on. You just painted some cars. That's all you did, okay? Well, in 2013, they found that the sewer system had paint in it.
From the 50s?
Doesn't matter.
How do they-
Doesn't matter. They can go after you.
I've heard that.
Yeah, they can because of the lead in it.
Because yeah. I mean,
I didn't live there then.
Well, what if the guy's dead? You know what I mean?
They'll still go after
Make his
him.
children pay.
Yeah.
I
Grab a
believe they were-
gun.
Isn't that stupid? There's no end to it. It's like, isn't there an end to burglary? If you burglarize something, there's only 7 years they can go after you.
Well, don't give them any ideas.
Yeah. Shh.
All right, you guys can go back to work.
All right, we're going back to work here with Jim's permission. AB 231 by Assemblymember Philip Y. Ting. Okay, that's not a funny on the airplane crash. This is a Democrat out of San Francisco. This is regarding criminal storage. This law changes the storage of firearms from if a child gets a hold of a firearm to if he can or is likely to get a hold of it. If you can be charged with a misdemeanor up to a felony. In other words, it used to be that if you left your guns out and a child did get a hold of them, then you could be charged. Now it's if he's likely or can, you can be charged. And
Okay, because I thought before that, if the child was likely to have access or something, that could be enough for like child protective services.
Well, Child Protective Services is quite a bit different, but as far as the California law was posted, no. And
Okay.
now we're going to have to change
So-
the signs in our store because the law has changed
Okay, yeah,
to
yeah.
read a little bit differently. I'm sure they'll just add another sign so that it all makes sense together. Let's move on. There is AB 500. That's 500 by Assemblymember Tom Amiano, another Democrat out of San Francisco. This law allows the California DOJ to extend the waiting period in some cases from 10 days to 15 days and for dealers to notify DOJ if the weapon has been released
What good is that?
prior to notification of the 15-day extension. That is for people who, let's see, if the court has found them adjudicated mentally defective, or if they've gotten in trouble somehow to where they need an extension on the waiting period. I believe that's what that's about. And I know it's kind of vague, but unfortunately, that's exactly what this bill does. And I think it also comes into play because there have been so many people that have, like somebody you and I know, they're now waiting past 10 days for release of a firearm without any notification, without anything, when originally it was set up that they only had 10 days to determine whether or not you were eligible to have it or not have it.
Right.
Well, I think this is giving them the legal leeway to go 15 days.
To go a little bit further.
When
huh?
the truth of the matter is, they'll take whatever time they want until they're sued and told that, hey, no, you have the burden of proof, not us.
Yep.
You're the one in control of giving us the clearance. You don't have to. I don't know. It's just ridiculous what they've been doing. I actually went through this myself, where it was like I was going to be held indefinitely because they couldn't get information, and I had to go out and get it for them and prove to them that yes, I was okay to have a firearm. You guys are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Once I did, they were all released, but it took me like 3 months.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Totally.
I had to go through a couple of district attorneys, prove to them that I had no cases against me.
Where was this?
This was right here in California through
Santa
the DOJ.
Barbara?
Actually, I had to go through Riverside County and got a letter from the district attorney stating that I had never had any cases against me and everything else. And it was just a battle all the way. Unbelievable. But it's taken care of. It's resolved
Waste of
now.
our tax dollars, huh?
Absolutely, and a waste of my time.
And you can't sue them.
No.
'Cause
I have
the
no
D-
right. They told me that the burden of proof was on me to prove that I was
That's
okay
right.
to
That's
have my
what I
weapons.
was going to say.
And that's not how the American system works.
Not supposed to anyway, unless we're
Right.
USSR.
Whoa. Duh.
Who's a socialist?
Not I.
Taxon Jackson?
Yeah, we'll let her.
Don't start him up.
No, that's fine.
Don't
I'm
do
cool.
it.
Hey, you know me. I'm cool.
He's getting hot. You guys,
No,
he's
I
saying
just-
he's cool, but he's got smoke
He's
coming out of his
flustered.
ears.
No, it's not true. It's not true at all. I just that when you see a stupid law that nobody can figure out, not even you guys who are professionals,
Hey.
and you can't figure it out,
I'm baffled.
and even the governor,
I'm
who's-
suppressed.
he couldn't figure it out. So he had
Okay.
somebody write something as close as they could to figure it out.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
my God.
they probably write it so loosely, like we've said before, so they can kind of stick things in there in the future to say, well, that's what we meant under the law.
Wait, let's pass that one.
Yeah.
It's so vague.
Yeah.
we can't enforce it.
That's it.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
You know it is. That'll save us some money.
Yeah, no kidding.
Whew.
Just in
Jeez.
case, just
Yeah.
in case.
Just in case, John.
All right, there's AB 711.
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven bill, yes. And it's not the 7-Eleven bill you think it is.
7-Elevens will be now closed.
Oh, so people will know. AB stands for Assembly, and SB
Assembly
stands
bill,
for
Senate bill.
Senate bill.
Senate, excuse me.
All right, Assembly Bill 711, 711. Not 411, not 911, but 711, and not 711. By Assembly Member Anthony Rendon, a Democrat out of Lakewood. This is hunting non-leaded ammunition. This bill passed. This bill bans all lead ammo for hunting in California. And I got to ask you, what is the reasoning behind this?
Yeah, I don't think that the lead from bullets is what is making condors go extinct. I mean, I really don't.
Well, condors aren't everywhere in California.
Well, what they're saying
Well, how do you know?
What they're saying is,
I
say you
know.
shot a squirrel and left it there, and somebody ate the squirrel. A bird ate the squirrel, and they ate
No,
the
yeah.
bullet. That's what they're trying
no,
to get
exactly.
to.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I understand that,
Crazy.
I mean,
most bullets go right through squirrels.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that gets me about this, okay? These people are inflicting more pain on animals because most of the ammunition that are sold is
So
going to
true.
be strictly straight copper. Copper rounds are a lot heavier, a lot stronger metal, and it will go straight through an animal instead of opening up and doing the damage that it needs to do to bring the animal down right there in one shot. So now you're going to have 2-3 shots on an animal. That animal is going to run for miles and then finally collapse. You're going to have
Yep.
to chase the animal down. Great. So it's harder work for us. Maybe I don't care about that part, but what I care about is the animal has
Yeah.
got to go through the pain and suffering before it dies. And these animal rights people are so worried about lead poisoning
Yeah,
instead of worrying about
Good point.
animals that have to suffer.
Good point.
What war are they fighting?
Well, I told you the one that the president was being interviewed, and the fly went by him, right?
Yeah.
And he swiped his hand and caught it. Pretty good catch too,
Yeah.
And he, threw it down and said, "I got that sucker," right? Well, PETA sent him a package that says how to catch flies. This is what you should do instead of killing the fly.
Ah, God.
The president of the United States.
He might as well just quit and join us.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
should.
He could
Come
get
on,
a lot
come
done.
on over to the other
Let's do
side.
it.
Come on over to the other side.
Come to the real American side.
Yes. This is how you negotiate.
Amen.
You come to our side.
Yeah.
Yes, this is too much laughter for a show like this.
Yes, be more serious.
Guns are very serious.
Yes, this I don't tune in for comedy hour.
Oh my God.
Wacko.
All right. Well, I don't know where to go from there.
Well, we've got 2 more bills with Marty Block.
we
That's
can
a
at
name,
least
huh?
we can do 11:30.
All
Marty
right.
Block.
Actually, no, we're at AB 1131
That's
by
Nanny.
by Assembly Member Nancy Skinner,
Skinner.
Nanny.
a Democrat out of Berkeley. Berkeley, the great place of Berkeley.
Woohoo.
This law makes it required that a psychotherapist report to law enforcement within 24 hours, and for law enforcement to report to the DOJ any violent threats within a 2-day period.
What?
So in other words, if you're there and you tell your psychotherapist, God, I could kill Jimmy right now. Well, she has an obligation now to go and report that to the police department within 24 hours.
But-
and they have an obligation to report it.
What about a client and doctor?
Well,
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 Doctor,
it sounds like it's
out
getting
the window.
out the window on that. Yeah,
Of course it's
exactly.
from Berkeley. Berserkly.
Berserkly.
Berserkly. That's what we used to call it when we were kids. Berserkly.
so be careful who you tell what.
Yeah. Keep your trap
Keep it
shut.
to yourself.
Yes.
Keep it to yourself.
And don't go out and enact it. That's not good either.
Yeah.
But this is ridiculous. I mean, this is what it's come down to.
It really is.
Here we go. All right, let's get on with this. Senate Bill
On with the show.
683 by Senator Mark Block, San Diego Democrat. This is regarding firearm safety. This bill was also passed. This bill would require all people receiving a newly purchased or transferred firearm to show a firearm safety certificate unless that person has a hunting license and is purchasing a rifle for hunting. This should supersede the handgun safety card program. So although all you guys got handgun safety cards,
That sucks.
guess what?
Nobody's going to enforce this. They're,
I have no choice but to
You
enforce
do.
it.
Yeah, but
You
that's the
do.
thing. Like for us selling the guns, we have to, and that's
Yeah, you
I'm
do.
telling
We're
you
the
right
only
now.
ones that can enforce it.
That is
That's
not-
exactly what I was trying to say. You guys, but nobody else is going to do it.
Wait, let's hold him to the fire here. He said nobody's going to enforce this.
Yeah.
Not gun shows or anything. They're not going to do that.
Well, the gun shows don't give out guns anyways.
Duh.
Think about it.
Well, they sell them.
They sell them and then they go to an FFL store and that's where the 10 days start.
Oh, so then there's where they got to go do it. at.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh, I thought the
Yep.
FFL place is just a place where they just wait it out and then give you the gun when you're.
No,
when
we
it's
do the
done.
paperwork. We do the whole work. So most of the people that are at gun shows are FFLs. They have an existing store or work out of their home.
Right.
And they'll have the person fill out the paperwork. They'll take the gun back home, do the 10 days, and then they have to come in and do the handgun safety card or handgun safety demonstration.
Yep.
And then they can release the firearm. Wow. And, there's been a few people that I just
Yeah, I know.
I had to retrain for half an hour before I felt right giving them a gun to take home.
Well, that's good though, Joe. You're right. You're right about that part. Yeah.
but it's scary.
Well, yeah.
Now,
if he's been drinking a little or something.
hey, I've told people drink and get out of the shop.
Yeah, because we can
So
smell it.
is
So
the owner of Tactical. We will not put up with that. If you come into
Yeah.
our shop drunk, or you come in to pick up a gun, you're drunk, you smell like alcohol. Guess what?
You're out of there.
You're out of there. You're going to
Yeah,
be
there
waiting
you
to
go.
pick up your firearm until you're
There you
sober.
go. That's absolutely correct.
It's
And if you're lucky.
it's a
That's the
common
way it
sense
should
thing
be.
to do.
Right.
Well, yeah, you don't go into a gun store after you had drinks.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
I mean,
not only
you
that,
know.
you're gonna be driving a car too.
With a gun in
good
your car.
point.
Fool, with a gun in your car.
That's a great point.
Oh
you
my
know what I
God!
mean?
So hey, if you think about it, we could actually get in trouble for telling him to get out of there.
oh shoot! No, yeah. Oh,
We're gonna have to
great.
call him a cab.
Yeah. Stop! Stay there.
Hey, you know
You're
what?
paying for a
if
taxi.
you put the sign up. If you are intoxicated, we will not let you drive. You are driving. You're going to have a
You
cab
will have,
service.
and then I'm going to open a cab service.
Or have those guys with the rickshaws. We'll take you
Wow.
home in a rickshaw.
Yes.
No, we're not going to Rickshaw County. Wow.
All right, we let this go a little too far, didn't we?
All right, we
See,
should
you let me
never-
talk in the microphone.
Do we
and
take
see
one
what
last
happens?
break? I mean, shoot.
Why? We got to do 5 minutes.
We've got 5 minutes. We had one last article. It was an article that I found written by Patrick McGreevy and Melanie Mason. It was actually written, yesterday.
Yesterday.
And it's about Governor Brown vetoes gun bills. I think this was out of the Washington Times. And California Governor Bill says bills wouldn't have made the state safer. He did sign a ban on lead bullets in hunting, though. Sacramento, declaring that California already has some of the nation's toughest gun laws, Governor Jerry Brown on Friday vetoed bills that would have furthered limited gun ownership and the sale of semi-automatic rifles. The Democratic governor, a gun owner who hunted for his younger days, said the proposals went too far and would have infringed on the rights of hunters and marksmen without making Californians safer, which is something we were trying to say the whole time.
Is there a difference between a hunter, a marksman, and a Californian? Can you be like a Californian that is a marksman? Or is that just totally asinine?
This is a good point.
He just made it sound like...
I didn't write the article.
I know you didn't. I'm just saying, they made it sound like there were 3 distinct different groups.
You know, it gets me, though, is they missed the whole point of the Second Amendment.
Yes.
A hunter, a marksman, okay, those are great practice to doing exactly what the Second Amendment intended for the gun. And that's what George Washington said.
Yep.
In doing those things, you will be prepared to do the latter.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Many of the bills have been introduced after last December's shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut, where 20 children and 6 adults were killed. Again, let's use the children. Among Brown's vetoes was a proposal that had been a top target for defeat by the National Rifle Association. The measure would have banned the future manufacture, import, and sale of semi-automatic rifles with detachable magazines. It would also have required those who already owned such guns to register them. The state of California already has some of the strictest gun laws in the country, including bans on military-style assault rifles and high-capacity ammunition magazines, Brown wrote in his veto message. Think of that. Hundreds of thousands of people would have had to come up and register their guns.
That's crazy. I mean, it would have literally been droves of people.
It would have been crazy.
They got more tax money out. They would have started. It probably would have started $5 a gun, and by the time they got done, would be $50.
No, I'll tell you what it would have started.
Yeah, it would be
a California Civil War.
Probably.
Truth dart.
Yeah. Back to the truth darts. Republicans and Democrats.
Oh, man.
No, we're not going to go there.
Face off.
The state also bans the open carrying of guns in urban areas,
Boo.
a law previously signed by Brown, and has a 10-day waiting period for purchasing firearms and requires buyers to undergo a background check.
You know, if you pass the background check and all that, why can't you open carry? It just doesn't make sense to me.
You know, that's true.
Is it just society doesn't want to see it?
Truth dart coming out here from Matt. It's the true. It's the truth.
It's the truth. That's solid.
The fact of the matter is if you've passed something, you're shown to be a law-abiding citizen and you lawfully can have your firearm.
Yeah.
Why can't you have it in the open? You have committed no crime.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You show that you don't go out to commit crimes.
But I've met mainly women who say that they're fearful of that.
But why?
Fearful of what? Seeing a gun on somebody?
If I have a gun on me, it's automatically assumed I'm going to hurt somebody.
That's right. That's exactly what they were saying. I mean, between the two women that one night they knew that I'd do the show. So I mentioned that to them because my son, I mentioned, hey, my son's got a permit to carry. He's got concealed weapon carrying. Well, that should be put away. And the next thing you know, these two are going at it, man, like how bad it really is and how fearful it is. And kids see that. Well, I'm thinking you probably go home and watch soap operas. What are you talking about? Yeah.
Well, I mean, the kids are playing the video games. All you got to do is tune into any channel on TV, and you're going to, even Law and Order or whatever, they're shooting guns at bad guys.
Right.
And that,
right. Crazy.
They're not going to, it's crazy. They're
it
not
is
just
within human nature to want to protect.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right. That's
not everyone, but in human nature, I get that.
And to take the tools away and take away the attributes that give us that ability is a crime within itself and is much more devastating than anybody having a firearm on their side.
And we've said it hundreds of times. It's not the gun that kills people. It's the people who kill people.
Right.
And if you want to kill somebody, that we've talked about it. You'll if you want to kill people, you'll set the house on fire or whatever.
Yep.
You're going to do it.
And if you're if you're whatever, the guy who shouldn't have a gun, you are definitely not going to be wearing an open carry.
No.
Right.
So that's
going to be hiding it.
Yeah, so that's, it's almost like a good way to safeguard that because that person, if they're open carrying, okay, that's probably a good person because otherwise he would have that thing stuffed in his belt.
I would rather be in a room, if I was a bad guy, with no guns in there except for me and a gun.
I'm with you.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
But if I see 20 people with a firearm, I'm not going to pull out my
Yeah, I'm
illegally
gonna
concealed gun and do some harm to everybody.
Yeah, I'm keeping walking.
Because somebody's going to get my butt.
Well, like the Chicago chief of police, right?
Yeah.
Said there's going to be more killing. People be shooting one another all the time.
All the time.
Just boom.
Oh,
yeah,
my
like
God.
there's not a 1,500 murders in your city
Yeah.
every year anyway, you bum.
If we got rid of the cities that have the highest gun laws and the states that have the highest gun laws, we would have the safest nation in the world.
This is true. Yeah, because and we see it time and time again, and we've mentioned time and time again. We've given examples of, look, the population is armed, and now they are a stronger population with less crime.
Absolutely.
And drastically, 15, 20% downfall in crime, that's a good, that's probably just as good or better than a police force.
Yep. Hey, I just want to say out there, thank you for your calls today. But seriously, have a great weekend. We appreciate your support on the Facebook here on the show.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.